Welcome back to CTV Newsnet. I'm Jennifer Ward. Another familiar contender has entered the race to the White House. Consumer advocate Ralph Nader is throwing his hat into the ring as an independent.
I get things done. I've got a 40-year record here in Washington that has saved millions of lives and prevented injuries, safer cars, safer food. We passed the Drinking Water Safety Act, Freedom of Information Act. It's not just rhetoric.
This is the fourth time Nader, who turned 74 this week, is making a bid for the White House, and his fifth if you count a 1992 write-in campaign. Nader says he's running because neither the Democrats nor the Republicans are addressing the problems facing Americans. For Nader, those problems include nuclear power, corporate crime, and Pentagon waste. And with more, we go to Washington, where we are joined by Solon Simmons, professor of conflict analysis and resolution at George Mason University, and he specializes in U.S. politics. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So Ralph Nader is continuing his tradition of tossing his hat into the ring. Why does he feel compelled to enter the race, considering the odds?
Well, no one really knows exactly why he runs, and it's difficult to find out. He's a bit of a mystical character in some ways. But I think if I were to speculate on why he's running, I'd put him in two categories. The first can be captured by the superdelegates, the role the superdelegates are playing as the party insiders, party leaders, and elected officials, which are really developed in some ways to prevent the activists, the liberal activists in the party from gaining a foothold. And he sees himself as a bit of a counterpoise to that tendency in the party. He's a bit of a specter of the left. So that's one reason he's probably running, just to put a little bit of fear, to pressure them to come over to his side. The second reason has to do, I'd say, with John Edwards and the message that he ran, his populist message. Nader believes, I think, that he actually puts pressure on the Democratic Party to adopt a more liberal message. And if so, he would suggest that we're going to see the Democrats more and more moving toward that sort of an Edwards-style Democratic Party if he persists over time.
Well, many Democrats blame Nader for taking votes away from Al Gore in 2000. Do you think he will have an effect on this year's election? Will he be a spoiler?
Really doubt that. I think that, last time when Nader ran, he got less than 0.5% of the vote. There are two other candidates, third-party candidates, Bednarik and Perutka, actually outscored him taken together, and those are not household names. So the idea that in the vote total he's going to somehow spoil it seems unlikely. But what I think he's trying to do is he's trying to have an effect on the history of the party and of the nomination process, and in that respect he might have some role to play. That he's trying to be something of the Norman Thomas of this era. By running again and again with a progressive message, he hopes to drive the party back toward the left, which it's been afraid to do since the Democratic Leadership Council took power in the 80s and 90s.
Well, we've seen independents like Ross Perot and Ralph Nader try to establish a third option in American politics, but with not much success. Do you think that will ever happen?
The American political system is allergic to third parties. The role they play is something like a bumblebee. They die when they sting. They step in, they introduce new ideas, they push the center perhaps. Ross Perot, as an example, helped to introduce concerns about the deficit. And other parties have played a similar role. You could imagine a religious right candidate stepping in perhaps, or we could imagine Ron Paul playing a role with a libertarian agenda. But the idea that you would somehow recreate a Republican Party from the existing two-party system seems unlikely, and I think everyone knows that.
All right, Solon Simmons, thanks very much for your insights. We do appreciate them.
Thank you very much.